You're listening to The Resentment Dumpers.
Hello.
Hi.
We are back, and I'm really happy to be here. It's been a few days since we've sat down to talk about the Mel Fox method and stuff.
It has been a few days. Lots has happened.
Yeah, lots of going on. You want to fill us in on that before I tell you what's on my mind?
Well, we've approved the final copy, and it will be available at Amazon any day.
Any moment,
That's
potentially.
right.
We're just waiting for the green light here.
We went through, I don't know if we covered this in the last podcast, but we received our physical proofs, and we went over them, and then and approved it. So
Yes, and we're talking publishing speak here.
That's right.
This is all about the book that, of course, we've been talking about for a while now, and we just have these like last steps of making sure everything's just right and the way we want it to look and everything before it's available for sale. But it's really soon. So if you're listening to us and hear the sounds of our voice right now, that means any moment now the book will be available for you to purchase. And really, what I would love to see is people reviewing it once they get a hold of it.
Yeah.
I really would like that. So if you're listening right now and you're getting a copy, please let us know. Of course, we want to know what you're thinking and what your thoughts are and everything, but it would be awesome to get that in writing and put up there once you're able to read it and go through it. I know I was so excited after reading it that I wrote one myself. So
Yeah, we're all about the feedback just to see, how it resonates with you, and we'd just love to hear your comments.
So what I've been thinking about today is there's reference to this in the book, and I was thinking a lot about the decision tree, and it's on my mind because it's so important. I think this is one of the major things that I personally have learned, which is a really, really solid concept behind avoiding resentment to begin with.
Yeah, preventive maintenance.
It is. It's preventative maintenance. It's like changing your oil before the damn... Oh, I'm not supposed to say that, am I? Oh, well, it's okay. I do have an occasional potty mouth problem, but I was trying to tame that for podcasting, but...
I'm sure you're referring to the dam as in, holding back water and everything.
No, that's not what I was referring to. It's just one of my potty mouth moments. But hey, I'm just trying to be myself here, so
that's
occasionally
right.
It comes out. But anyway, my point is that, you can jump to conclusions very easily, which happens to be one of the major causes of resentment or reasons for resentment, or how do you say that exactly?
Reasons for resentment.
Yeah, okay. But that can happen so easily with people when they don't utilize a proper decision tree, in quotes, in air quotes, but really meaning like giving a person the benefit of the doubt before you start going crazy and start, forming your own stories and jumping to conclusions and, creating, all these what could end up being fictional accounts of what you think might be going on, when in reality there are steps that you can take to prevent that from ever happening.
Think how often you've heard from a friend, or you've actually thought yourself that somebody is lying, or they're doing something intentionally just to hurt you, and you automatically go to that result, or you go to that conclusion without ever asking them if that's what's going on.
And I think it's important to insert here that happens because of our life's experiences.
Exactly.
The things that we bring into that interaction previously led to the point where, we're all of a sudden think somebody's trying to be mean or trying to hurt us or lying, or all these things that we can actually conclude on our very own just based on the, anecdotal type information or evidence that we have, without actually being curious enough to find out what's really going on.
Yeah, it's the classic being curious versus being judgmental thing. And it's life experiences, as Meryl said, that maybe you got hurt in a previous relationship where you didn't see it coming. You had a presuming belief that they were fine and you didn't ask any questions, and then you found out later that they did do something that you didn't like or whatever. So now you're extra sensitive. So now you have a limiting belief that, you know, all partners are going to be a certain way when you just hear one inkling of something that was familiar in a previous incident.
That's right.
So if you look at the decision tree that we have in the Mel Fox method, we have an example there of if somebody doesn't automatically respond within 5 minutes of your email, you know, what's your decision tree there? You know, is it automatically assume that they're ignoring you? I mean, that's the jumping to conclusion part.
I'm raising my hand here because I have done that in the past, and I've gone even one step further. Not only are they ignoring me, but they're mad at me. They're liars. They've run away to South America. I mean, there's just so many different places you can go, but in reality, it's not giving the person the benefit of the doubt that
this person,
yes.
You know, it's like you may have been burnt before in previous relationships and everything, but this is a totally different person. And that's what we have to realize, is that just because something sounds familiar doesn't mean that the result's going to be the same.
Right. But we have to recognize and account for the fact that, you know, unless we're like 5 years old, we have life experiences that we bring into that. But what is helpful for me is to be aware of it, to have, you know, I snapped. Just have this moment, you know, like the light bulb thing that goes, wait a minute, I'm making up a story here. And, you know, like literally stopping myself and saying, I don't know what's going on here. And being able to step back and, you know, and I think the key phrase here is giving someone the benefit of the doubt until you know for a fact, give them the benefit. You know, if this is whoever this is in your life, your intimate partner, your friend, your mother, whatever, that person's very close to you. You have a relationship already established with them. So, you know, even if it's just someone you're dating casually or someone at work or whatever, you at least should be curious enough to understand what really was going on before you jump to any conclusions about it.
Right. And I guess giving somebody the benefit of the doubt is the essence of the Mel Fox mindset. It's keeping your partner on the same side of the net instead of automatically throwing them on the other side.
And that's what it always comes back to, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. That's what it all boils down to. As far as successful, effective conflict resolution, it's reining it in and keeping them on this side of the net and asking the questions, you know, and until they say that, yes, I did this to hurt you or whatever, give them the benefit of the doubt.
Hear them out.
Exactly. Maybe they're away from their computer for a half hour. You know, maybe, you know, they're on the phone on something else. Maybe they were taking a shower.
Maybe they were out buying you a gift. I mean, it could literally be that crazy that you're, you know, jumping to all these conclusions that they're out to get you or whatever when they're doing something nice for you in the meantime.
Yeah, it's confronting them and respecting respecting and valuing the relationship enough to at least ask them what's going on, yep. You know, or why you did what you did. So, okay. Or they did what they did.
So, okay, I'm sitting here thinking that this makes so much sense to me, and I've seen it work in my own life and everything, but what kind of things can we do collectively? What can we all do to stay in that mindset? Like, how do we not go to the dark side based on, you know, how we used to think, the traditional relationship logic that we've all used and everything? What are the, I guess, kind of like, I don't know, tips and tricks kind of thing? Like, what kind of things can we work on?
Well, the biggest thing is recognizing when it happens and getting attuned to that feeling of betrayal or whatever. Anything that
triggers you.
That automatically has you seeing your partner as not on your side anymore. And stopping and when you feel that, to bring them back, ask the questions. It's how soon can you regain control? Because when you see your partner on the other side of the net, that's just not right.
You know, then it just escalates from there.
We talked about this before. It's silly when you think about it. Here is this person that you may or may not be in a committed relationship, but they're your partner
at that moment.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And it's like no matter what they do, they're still your partner until you guys agree not to be partners anymore, right? So it just makes sense to keep them on your side. If you have any questions, ask them and everything, but don't automatically assume just because something happens that they did it on purpose intentionally just to hurt you. And that's the feeling we get at those moments.
And I think I kind of tapped into a significant word there when I just kind of threw in the trigger, the concept of being triggered. I think that's what happens. It's like somebody can say or do something that maybe someone else said or did before, or it brings you back to a time where, something happened that, where you automatically get defensive.
And it's automatically, that's the key word there, is that we have a autonomic response to threatening information. Just like threats to, that affect ourselves physically. We have that autonomic response. Now, it's how soon can you recognize it? How soon can you rein it in? It's like if you're trying to tame a horse and they rear up, do you just throw your hands up in the air and run out of the room screaming? Or are you going to pull down on the reins and have the horse know that you're in control?
Yeah, because if you're not, you're going to get kicked off. That's happened to me.
That's right.
I was terrified, and the horse knew it, and I didn't know how to bring the reins in, and I could use that as a great parallel for life and relationships and everything.
That's an analogy, and really the horse that you're riding there is a goatee.
And then I read the latest issue of Horse and Hound magazine, and I learned all about taming. Just kidding. Just a little private joke there. But yeah, it's really a fascinating concept, how much that decision tree can actually change your whole world and how you view your relationships, where you just don't immediately go there. Or if you do, you're able to recognize it and pull it back in and then go back and go through those steps. And I think you do in the book outline the steps. There's isn't there like a diagram?
I showed a rather extended, thought process that you go through.
But I like that. It really illustrates the whole concept of what the decision tree really means. And I think about it all the time, even at work and stuff. I'll think about, not jumping to conclusions and not, putting someone immediately into the enemy role because I don't know their side.
Yeah, you like Meryl said, you give the person the benefit of the doubt and say, well, maybe they were taking a shower. I'll send another email. Or if they don't respond to that, okay, maybe they're not looking at their email. Maybe they'll look at their text. You send them a text. If they don't respond to that, you might think about giving them a call. And if they don't answer their phone, maybe, go visit them.
And here's another important thing. Believe what they tell you. Also, that's part of giving them the benefit of the doubt. Because unless somebody says, you know what, you're really getting on my nerves and I was just avoiding you, then go ahead. Then go ahead and go forward. They've let you know. But if they are genuinely, I was busy, I wasn't available, I was doing something else, my head was down in a project, whatever, then you accept that because, again, this is the person that's on the same side with you. You are playing together on this team. And that's what people, I think, tend to lose sight of very easily because of egoity.
Yeah, the example in the book is about not responding to an email. And,
that's why we're using that parallel.
And I don't know if you've seen the commercial yet, but it looks like we're going to wrist phones finally. Dick Tracy, Get Smart, all those kind of things.
I don't like that.
Okay.
I don't like wrist. I don't like things on my wrist. I'm not like a watch.
But the point I'm trying to make is you'll probably always have your wristwatch on. So if you leave a room...
Oh, you're like tethered to your phone.
To your phone. Well, we're not tethered to our phones right now. And sometimes we might leave our phone in another room and turn up music in the room that we're in and not listen to the phone, either emails, calling, or texts. We're not going to receive anything for a while until we go back to our phone and see that we have messages.
But you know what's kind of fascinating? Like, I'm not, 18 years old or anything. And I actually remember a time when we did not have cell phones or email. And it really has added a whole new, I think I'm getting off track here, but I just thought this was worth mentioning because it's kind of hit me like a ton of bricks at how much things like cell phones and email and text messages and everything have impacted relationships.
Definitely. It used to be not that long ago that you couldn't even leave a message. I mean, either they're answering their phone, or they're not.
Yeah, and then we graduated to answering machines.
Yeah. answer machines.
And that became a big thing in relationships
in
its time, like screening calls and just standing there listening
exactly.
and all that. But now, the fact that we're having this conversation is very startling to think about the fact that it's all based, and this happens all the time in my conversations with people and women especially that I talk to a lot, it's constantly referred to that, should I text, should I not text? How long do I wait for a reply? I mean, it's an actual subculture now that we have to deal with in regards to relationships, and it can literally just cause things to blow up this way. So anyway, that's just an interesting side note of all this.
But my point is that we are not tethered to our phones, as Meryl said. There's occasional times that we're actually not staring down, looking at our phone, waiting for things.
We're allowed to put it down or put it in another room or ignore it.
But if the other person is tethered to their phone and they do respond to every email within 10 seconds and every text and every phone call, and they assume that you're the same, then you have problems.
That's a conflict.
But if you ask the other person why they didn't respond to the email, why they didn't respond to whatever, or whatever happens that you didn't like or you wouldn't have done, and we give them the benefit of the doubt and we do ask them, then we can find out why they didn't.
Right, and I'm sitting here thinking again about what I said a few minutes ago, which is that you have to actually believe what they say, but that's like a whole other discussion because that's a trust issue. Like, why am I with this person to begin with if they tell me they weren't available and I don't believe them?
But again, that's keeping the resentment down. It's resolving all the other issues where you do have that high level of trust.
Oh, that's such a great subject. I mean, that's like a whole podcast in itself. In fact, maybe that'll be our next podcast. We can talk about the correlation.
Oh, yeah.
Just like a little teaser, because this was big for me too. This was another one of those aha things for me to understand how they affect each other. I've never thought of that, and when I read the book, it makes so much sense. And there's a lot of talk about isn't there a whole trust metaphor thing that?
Well, there's the game Tug of Trust.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Instead of tug of war, it's tug of trust, and the object is not to pull the other person down, but to keep them up. And you can lean back, holding onto the rope, and just lean back, and you're totally trusting of the person not to let go of the rope or not to slip, and all the correlations. A lot of terms that we use in describing relationships can be, the same kind of description can be done, with this game.
Yeah, I really want to just talk about nothing but that maybe next time, because it's so important, and every little thing that we discuss comes back to that reality, which is that correlation between trust and resentment.
Yeah, the lower the level of resentment, the higher the level of trust, level of understanding, level of respect that you have for your partner.
And that's the only way that even something like the decision tree is going to work, because, as I said, unknowingly hitting on a really important point, is that you have to believe the answer. If you're curious. No, wait, this is not my day for talking. I've had this problem all day long. I'm going to put a sentence together now. Curious enough to ask the question, you have to be willing to accept the answer.
Exactly.
Or
find out why you don't believe the answer.
Yeah.
Which will go back to some type of trust issue that you have, which is caused by some lingering resentment that you have.
That you might not even be aware of.
Right. And it might be just built in because you brought it with you from previous relationships, and that's the type of thing that's going to happen, is that jump to conclusions because you were burnt in a previous relationship.
Yeah. And it's like we said, unless you're 15 years old or something, which you're probably not, and listening to our podcast right now, we all have that baggage. I hate using that word. It's kind of got a negative connotation, but it's very illustrative of what it is that we bring with us,
And one of the wonders of the Mel Fox method is that you can get rid of that baggage by examining your limiting or presuming beliefs and just working through that. And you have that sense of cleansing, it's like when you no longer have that automatic belief that all men are like this or all women are like this, or when you get in a relationship and something happens, that automatically means that they're out to get you, or they're liars,
and that too is another entire podcast, because in fact there's so many benefits that you feel, not just in a relationship but as a person, as an individual, that the outcome section, we can take each one of those and talk about them at length, because there's just so many. And that's what's so beautiful about it, because it's not just about relationship health, but it's about your own personal health and growth as well.
Exactly.
So.
Exactly. There's just an opportunity there when you have a good, clean, healthy relationship with somebody that you can bounce things off of and just, see it from their point of view, viewing your world through their eyes. I love that expression.
And I just read a quote today, which is probably a quote I've seen 100 times, but it really hit me, because it was like the whole thing about that people come into your life to be a mirror. And that is so true if, you have the tools and the willingness to look at it that way. And it's a beautiful thing if you do.
And you have that trust, you have that respect, which is formed by minimizing the amount of resentment that you have.
Yeah. So I think that's a good place to kind of slow down with today, and just we'll be back in touch. Maybe we'll do like a special edition when we get the green light on Amazon.com. And then people can actually read the book and know all these little details that we keep talking about. And what else? I think that's it, right?
That's about it.
Okay. So we will see you next time.
All right.
Bye.
Adios.
You've been listening to The Resentment Dumpers. Check us out on the web at www.theresentmentdumpers.com.